No,
I hate myself for that answer, but I think it could be.
Don't degrade yourself in this way.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Off to Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater from the comfort of my car. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, it has been 2 full years since a way too early Tony nominations. So I'm so excited to say we are back with the 2022 way too early Tony nominations. It is currently January 16th on date of record. We are way too early this year. But we're back, and we're excited to be back for this episode.
Back in 2022 for the first time.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like things are really still super weird in the theater world. You know, Omicron is a big thing right now. So,
especially talking like here from Canada, which is a little bit different than New York or the States. Like, we cannot have indoor theater right now. It is closed. It is shut down. Again.
And it's Mirvish was supposed to reopen with Room in February, and it seems like all Mirvish Productions has been put off to April just to be like super safe. Same thing with like London theater, London, Ontario has been like pushed off to April. And I don't think, just thinking outside of like still inside Ontario, like Shawfest and Stratford have announced their seasons, but there's no dates right now, and I don't think tickets go on sale until March. So everyone's kind of like pushing things as far as possible. But with that being said, because this is a way too early nominations episode, things that we are talking about today, we are not sure if shows are closing. We are not sure if shows are coming in. We will talk about the potentials that could come into this season. But as we know, theater has been hit so hard throughout the entirety of this pandemic, and it is very possible that some of these musicals that we'll be going through today might not be open when this episode is released. And a disclaimer, as we have done on our last 2 way too early Tony nominations, so sorry, but we're not talking about plays today. It is only musicals.
The only worthwhile pieces of theater. Sorry.
Although I think there are some pretty good plays this season, but none that I am interested in talking about. Actually, speaking on that, a few plays have sadly closed from like December to now, but it does seem like some people are trying out some in-person as well as streamed performances. I know Clyde's, that is currently on Broadway, again, at time of recording, had some stream performances. So I wonder...
the last 2 weeks, you could buy a ticket to streaming. Unfortunately, I don't think it was accessible to people in Canada.
No, never is.
But it never is. But I do think that's a really wonderful way of making it accessible to people who, to be honest, were never the market for an in-person ticket in the first place.
Totally. So maybe some of that stuff will continue. I think plays are really like the best area to do that. Sure. Because, you know, not so many like super moving parts. Some have a lot of moving parts, but it will be interesting to see if any of that continues. Again, the season is not locked. There is certainly not a lock for what is in this 2022 2021, 2022 season.
And that's what's fun about this. And that's what's fun.
And at time of recording, there is only 1 round of Tony eligibility out. And that only included for musicals, Diana and Six. And The Girl from the North Country.
And Girl from the North Country. I have the list of musicals in order of date of open, if we want to go through it. Give it to us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order of date of open, let's start with the new musicals, going all the way back to March 5th of 2020, starting with Girl from the North Country. That was the first musical eligible for this season, original musical.
They really got 10 days of performances in before everything shut down.
Crazy. Next, we have Six. That opened October 3rd, 2021, and everything now, open 2021. So Six, Diana, Mrs. Doubtfire, Flying Over Sunset, MJ the Musical is still upcoming its opening. It's in previews right now. Paradise Square, upcoming its opening. Mr. Saturday Night, upcoming. And A Strange Loop does not have a date yet for its opening night. But we're presuming April.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't think it's released yet, the cutoff date, but it's typically mid to end of April.
Yeah.
To be considered for this season.
So Mr. Saturday Night's opening night is set for April 27th. So we're presuming it's after that.
I feel like that's the
It might be that day.
the last day.
That's kind of risky right now, I feel like, to set your opening for so late. Because with Omicron, with, let's say, shows having to be canceled so quickly, depending on sickness, coverage, whatever, to be kind of leaving it so late in the eligibility period, you're running the risk of having to cancel your opening night for unforeseen circumstances and then not making it into the season.
I mean, speaking of that, and it is really interesting. I don't think we've ever seen something like this because we've never obviously been in a time like this, but Doubtfire is currently on hiatus until March because they really, at the beginning of Omicron, got hit super hard. And I think might have been the super spreader in Broadway. There was an opening night party. We don't know anything more than that. But they are on hiatus right now with a date to come back and will be coming back.
It's March 14th is the reopening date.
And Girl from North Country also on hiatus, not with a date to come back.
Or
and
a
they're
theater.
also moving theaters. Yes.
Or
So they currently, I mean, not currently because they're closed right now, at the Belasco. They are leaving the Belasco because To Kill a Mockingbird is moving into the Belasco in June, I believe.
Yeah.
And that means that the Girl from the North Country currently has no theater. So will they reopen? We don't know at this time, obviously. And then also in the mix of that, Flying Over Sunset is now closed. Yep. They were always a limited run, but they closed before the end of their limited run. Carolina Change is closed. They ended their limited run, so that worked out fine. And Diana, as we know, closed.
Tragically.
And speaking on that, there are some potentials of shows that could be part of this season. Steph, want to give us these shows?
Sure. So these are things that have been announced, or we know that there are out-of-town tryouts happening for them, or that there's some off-Broadway things that have a lot of buzz that we think could be transferring. My viewpoint is that this season is crowded enough, and with the kind of risk of closures, I think everything should hold off till next season, but these are kind of the ones that have enough buzz around them that we think could potentially make it into this season. So Sing Street was supposed to be in this season. Where are you, Sing Street?
Sing Street was on our 2020 Tony nominations. Let's just say that. And there has been zero information. I feel like the last time we talked about Sing Street was on our Broadway shutdown episode in 2020, and they had maybe been one of the first shows to be like, we're opening in the winter, and then we've never heard anything since.
No. I think the latest I've heard is 2022, which we're here.
At a Schubert Theater.
At a Schubert, yes. They should hold off. Next, we have Swept Away, which is the Avett Brothers musical that's been kicking around. It's currently playing at Berkeley Rep. I think it's aiming for Broadway, but I don't think it's going to make it this season. We've got Almost Famous, which we've heard about a lot. I feel like all these three shows are in the same family of style of things. Almost Famous, what's going on with that? K-pop. We've seen casting notices for K-pop. It had a successful off-Broadway run, so hopefully that's coming in soon. Once Upon a One More Time. That had an out-of-town in Chicago, right?
DC.
DC. Exactly. You're right.
It was supposed to be Chicago, and then they canceled, and then it just finished in DC. So
right. And Kimberly Akimbo is kind of the
most buzzed.
Yes, because it just finished an off-Broadway run starring Victoria Clark. It looks exciting. It looks really good. So I am very curious to see. But again, all of these, I think this is a really crowded season. There are some categories that are really packed, so I think everything should hold off.
There is one more. This is a Dreaming of Dreams because it literally just opened at time of record 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. A Whisper House, the new Duncan Sheik horror musical.
Oh.
Starring a few people. I think there's like 7 people in it, but the only name that I know off the top of my head is Alex Boniello.
Where is it playing?
It is playing in New York. I think off Broadway currently.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
Yes, but out of the 2 shows that they've done, I've heard the score is really good. And you know, it's Duncan Sheik.
We love Duncan Sheik. And then also, of course,
a horror musical. Horror musical is super interesting.
That is exciting. It is exciting.
So we'll see.
And also, of course, we have our 4 announced revivals this season that are coming. In order of open, they are Carolina Change, which we've talked about, October 27th. Company opened on December 9th, and that's kind of the biggest, well, I don't know if that's the biggest buzz, because then we get to The Music Man playing at the Winter Garden right now, which there's been a lot of buzz about that. And finally, the only one that has not started performances yet is Funny Girl, which is supposed to open April 24th. So those are our 4 revivals.
This revival category,
it's crazy.
Insane.
It's crazy. And they're so different, too.
Yeah, so different. But equally very exciting. So, we are going to kick this off with our acting categories. Again, for anyone that has not listened to us previously, has not listened to a Way Too Early Tony Nominations episode, these are our thoughts and feelings and opinions, our own opinions. But it is fun to predict this and see what actually comes true. For the sake of this episode, I think we have decided on 5 people per category. Could be less, obviously. But yeah, we are going to kick this off in our featured category, and we are starting with Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Who you got? Okay, I'm going to start off with, I think, an interesting person in this category. The musical Mr. Saturday Night is starring Billy Crystal, and the actor David Paymer was nominated for an Oscar in this movie in 1992, and he is reprising his role in the Broadway production. So I'm thinking a repeat nomination for this. My first person in this category is David Paymer. I 100% agree. Also, heads up, disclaimer, we have paper in our hands as well as like highlighters, pens, and everything. We did a lot of research. Okay, this is very important. I 100% agree. I also feel, again, I think this is one person's award to lose this year, and we'll get to him, but I do think the Tony voters love someone like this who is reprising their role, was nominated for an Oscar, and he's like in his late 60s, so it is super interesting that David Paymer is like walking in back to this role with Billy Crystal. So this musical, I was unfamiliar with the movie. I was watching the trailer yesterday in preparation for this. I was asking my mom, Mom, have you seen this movie? What have you heard about it? Everything. It's very interesting. It seems to be about an older comedian looking back on his life as a young person, and this movie was made 30 years ago now, when Billy Crystal was a young person, and now he's returning to the role 30 years later. Yeah. Playing the same role, but like as an older person. And so I think that brings like a really interesting context to it. I am slightly confused as to why it's happening. Like, I don't know enough about it to understand why it's happening, but I do know that I would bet on David Paymer in this category. Yeah, I agree. I think he's a lock for a nomination 100% without even seeing or hearing anything from this show. Yeah. Okay, this is in no particular order as well. We are just putting 5 people into categories. Up next for me, I am putting into Best Featured Actor in a Musical, Quentin Earl Darrington for MJ. He is playing Joe Jackson. We know him from Once on This Island. He was Agwe, the water god. His voice is insane. And I think, again, haven't seen MJ. I've seen a couple like TikTok reviews. I've read a couple things about it. Seems like Joe is a pretty big part of this show, other than obviously Michael. Right. So I do think that if there is going to be one other guy that will get a nomination for MJ, I think it's him. I don't have him on my list, but he is interesting. Yes, I was looking at the cast list for this show, and I'm thinking, okay, besides MJ, what characters are going to have impact? And I think Joe Jackson is that next character to have so much impact, because we know he was so pivotal in Michael's life. So I think that's a good pick, but not on. He's also a fantastic singer. Love him. So good. So I'm actually interested to know what MJ songs he sings, right? Because it's a jukebox. We don't know the structure of the musical quite at this time. Yeah. Like who's singing what's going on. I think it's a good pick. Okay, my next pick. From Mrs. Doubtfire the musical, we have Brad Oscar. I believe he is playing kind of like
what's Mrs. Doubtfire's, the character's real name? Doesn't matter.
Oh my god.
His friend who's kind of helping make him over. I feel like this is just a great part for a character actor to come in, steal a bunch of scenes, and then leave. You know, probably have 20 minutes where he's like answering emails in his dressing room, but really, really just stealing the show every time he comes on stage, and leaving us with just enough. So my next person is Brad Oscar in Doubtfire, Mrs. Doubtfire, whatever it's called.
It's interesting because I think obviously the only show that we have like a kind of straight comparison to for this is Tootsie.
Absolutely.
And I believe we did the same nomination for Tootsie, the like best friend.
Yes,
also
we
nominated.
We missed him in our Way Too Early Tony nominations, but
yes.
he showed up. And we're like, who? What? And I'm not making that same mistake. I'm not making that mistake again.
I think there's 2 friends in Doubtfire.
You're probably right, but I'm seeing Brad Oscar get a lot
his name
of
pop up.
press. There was a great interview with him in, I don't know what publication, but they talked to him about the hiatus and what it means to him.
I saw you like that tweet.
Yeah, I'm like, safe. Yeah. This is helpful to me.
Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna go with someone here that is a shoo-in, and by a shoo-in, I mean I'm pretty confident he's gonna win this, and that's Matt Doyle for Company.
Okay, he's also on my list. Okay, he's also on my list. Love Matt Doyle.
I mean,
absolutely love Matt Doyle.
We love Matt Doyle, and I think this is a really exciting part for him. I've seen so many interviews in the last 2 years, him speak specifically on the character of Jamie. As we know, the love of your life, Jonathan Bailey, won this?
Olivier. Yeah, he won the Olivier for playing this part.
So
there's a precedent. There's a precedent.
Of course. And I love this for Matt because, again, we talked about this in our Way Too Early 2020 Tony nominations, and I think he was a front runner for us back then, and Company hadn't even opened yet. Company obviously opened, so there's been tons of press. I know specifically on Not Getting Married Today is a showstopper moment for him.
It's always been a showstopper, even when it was a girl singing it, but now with the added context, it's so exciting.
Yeah. And I just love this for Matt because he is one of those guys that constantly is replacing and he's understudying. And this is the first time that he is, I mean, the role is not originating, but he is originating this character
on
basically.
Broadway.
Yeah, on Broadway. So obviously he is going to get nominated, and I think he might win this. So we'll see.
We'll pick our winners. We'll pick our winners in a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
My next nominee is another holdover from when we thought this out in 2020. The other love of our life, Austin Scott in Girl from the North Country.
Me too.
I think that character that he plays, it's the boxer, I can't remember his name right now, is kind of like the show-stopping character. He gets like the best songs. I'm just thinking of like Slow Train Running. It's like a YouTube video of him singing it.
It's so good.
That was kind of, when we saw it in Toronto, it was with a different cast. It was with the London cast. That was the show-stopping moment for me. My favorite song, the one that I went back and listened to, and I didn't really listen to a lot of the show after we saw it, but that song specifically stuck with me. And I think that's like a really great, interesting character. And we love Austin Scott. We saw him play Hamilton
so good.
A few years ago, and he's the favorite Hamilton I've seen. So he's just so talented, and I'm thinking Austin Scott for Girl from the North Country, another nominee in this category.
Okay, I also have him on my list, which means I have one spot left. And this is it's an interesting spot because I don't know where this character will fall in terms of eligibility, because obviously it has not opened yet, show hasn't opened yet, and there are rumors that the character will be beefed up for Broadway and could be considered lead. With that being said, I am so happy that he is back on Broadway. Ramin Karimloo for Funny Girl as Nick Arnstein. Who do you have in your 5th spot?
Okay, so I also went Funny Girl, but I waffled on this, but I put Ramin in lead, so I have Jared Grimes from Funny Girl in my 5th spot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I waffled a bit on whether Ramin's going to be lead or featured, and, we discussed this, but I think the precedent of that character being nominated as a lead in previous Tony nominations was kind of the impetus for me to leave him in lead and put Jared Grimes in featured.
Yeah. I love Ramin, obviously. So I mean, I just think it's so exciting that he's back on Broadway in general. I think his chances, although I don't think he is going to win anywhere here, but his chances are better in featured than in lead at this moment because there's a lot of star power in lead. But it will be interesting to see what the eligibility is because I've read that they could beef it up to make it a lead role, but then we also had the conversation of like, well, who else could be lead but the funny girl herself, right?
No, it's
so
true.
it's very it's difficult. It's a hard one.
No, we don't have the rulings right now. This is just, we're basing it on history, precedent. This is actually, you know what I didn't look at? I looked at previous Tony Awards, but I didn't look at what happened at the Olivier's.
Oh, I was gonna say the Oscars too.
That's
way back, but
so at the Olivier's, that's the production that is somewhat transferring.
Yeah.
That he wasn't nominated. But at the What's on Stage Awards in London, it was Best Actress in a Musical nominated for Sheridan Smith, and Best Featured Actor was Joel Montague, who played Eddie Ryan, which is the Jared Grimes part. So that's giving me Nick Arnstein is lead energy.
I mean, I have him written in both, so it just depends where it is. But that's interesting. I'm gonna draw an arrow to both to see what happens here. But I do want to talk about a potential 6th spot because his performance was amazing in the Netflix production of Diana the Musical. Ro Hartranft, we love him.
I mean, we love him. We do love Ro Hartranft. I don't think I'm gonna
not happening.
I'm gonna have a hot take here. Diana the Musical will get 0 Tony nominations.
I think costume.
I am gonna say 0.
Wow. I mean, you're probably right.
0.
As we know, critics hated Diana.
They were wrong.
But, you know,
they were
People's
wrong.
Musical. But yeah, Ro, there are some moments on that cast recording. Again, we've said this on so many episodes. Go listen to the Diana cast recording because it's actually really great. Mm-hmm. He's so good. So I hope they go to the Tony Awards just to be there.
They will not be there. They will not be there.
Pay for a performance.
Okay, so pick your winner. I think this is kind of a...
It's Matt Doyle.
It's Matt.
And guess what, guys? Matt's probably going to win unless the Tony voters are like David Paymer.
I know, that's kind of the person who I'm seeing can upset right now. Someone else I kind of want to highlight, I put him in here, but I didn't pick him for my category. A Strange Loop is a musical that is fantastic, and it's hard because you have Usher, and then you have these 6 other Ushers, right?
Yeah.
But the one that I would highlight is the actor John Andrew Morrison, who sings the part of his mother. Specifically in the song Periodically. And I think that's kind of, for me, like the biggest standout in the ensemble. And so if anyone's going to be picked out from that ensemble, it's going to be John Andrew Morrison.
I agree.
So that's kind of like maybe my actual 6th slot.
But I still think this is Matt Doyle's to lose, regardless.
I think I agree. I think there's a lot of energy around that performance, around that production, specifically. So I don't disagree.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to featured actress in a musical. I have 11 potentials, but that's including a potential show that hasn't announced anything yet. There's probably more that I'm missing.
I think I have 12 on my list.
Okay.
But it's hard because a lot of these shows we haven't seen. We
also don't know ruling. There's another ruling situation here.
So why don't you start this time?
Okay, I am going to start with... We'll leave the one that we all know. We talked about her in 2020. We'll leave her to the end. I am going to start with Sammy Williams for Caroline or Change. She is playing Emmy. As we know, a role...
I agree with this.
That we saw Vanessa Sears play when we saw it here. And I have listened to bits and pieces of the Caroline or Change cast recording. She sounds so good on this. She is best known for Dear Evan Hansen. And I remember when this casting was announced, people were really excited about it. And then when I had heard how great Caroline or Change was at Roundabout, it was like, okay, I think Sammy is the nominee here for Best Featured. I do think that out of everybody in that show, Emmy is the closest to like Caroline of time on stage. So she has the most to do out of like everybody else in that ensemble, if you were to say.
This is also a previously Tony nominated and Tony winning role for Nick and Oni Rose. So this is like not a long shot here at all. This is a great role, and like, you know, when you're playing a role that has previously not only been nominated for a Tony but won a Tony, there's a lot of pressure on you, but there's also a lot of like it's elevating you. It's bringing your attention to you. So I think this is, I really believe that she will be in this category as well.
Okay. Who do you have next?
Okay. This is so hard. I'm having a hard time with this category.
I know. The women, it is a stacked season of women. It's very exciting.
Time with this category. Okay. I think where I'm going to go is in The Music Man, Jane Hudishell. She's playing the character, I can't pronounce this, Eulalie Shin, and she is recently won a Tony Award for the play The Humans in 2016. Does a lot of theater, just like a theater mainstay. And I really I think if we think that The Music Man is going to be like a critic's darling.
Do we?
I don't know. I have many mixed feelings on this, but...
It's like, maybe you do, but I don't.
We'll talk about this later, But I think if we're going to critique The Music Man, it will not be in the performances. I think the performances, or especially the supporting performances, I think the supporting performances are going to be like the top places where it gets recognized. Well, I think all the performances, but I think if they're going to show love to The Music Man in only certain places, it's going to be in the performances. Mm-hmm. And I can just see this. She's a wonderful actress. She's been Tony nominated before, Tony winning before. Sometimes it's very easy for audiences or voters to kind of put in a recognizable name in this slot. So in the absence of a better reason, this is what I've got.
That was the 12th name I was missing, clearly. Because I've chosen to have The Music Man leave my mind is the reason that I don't have her on the list.
I think that's fair. But yeah.
No, you're right. You're right.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. I'm going to go with an obvious choice here, I feel. We're talking star power. We're talking celebrity. We're talking Jane Lynch in Funny Girl. She is playing Mrs. Bryce. We are Funny Girl newbies. We will be doing an episode on Funny Girl because both of us have not seen this movie. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know if she has more of a name than Mrs. Bryce, but that's what I'm calling Jane Lynch today.
I think her name is Rose.
Obviously,
but
Rose.
I don't know why.
Perfect. As soon as Jane Lynch got announced that she was playing this character, I was like, oh, cool, Tony nomination. So it is just, I think, one of those things that it's going to happen because it's going to happen. And I think similarly to Music Man, I do have better thoughts on Funny Girl, but I do think that this show is going to be recognized in the acting categories because it's just like such a well-known show and it hasn't been on Broadway forever. So
this is the first revival we're getting, so it's very interesting.
Yes, so it's exciting to bring it back. I do have a bit of an issue with Jane Lynch being cast in this role in general because the casting call asked for a Jewish woman to play Fanny's mom, and Jane Lynch is not Jewish. So I do think it's an interesting choice to do this specifically when the casting call asked for that. Obviously, we know Beanie Feldstein is Jewish and is playing Fanny, but that's my only real issue with this casting. Other than that, I mean, Jane Lynch is a great performer, so I think it will be fun to see her back on stage. Last time was Annie, I believe, as Miss Hannigan.
Yeah, and she was a replacement in that, so she wasn't originating.
Yes.
But so I
that
think
was a stunt cast.
It was a stunt cast, but I do think she performed at the Tonys 1 year. But I think it'll be exciting to see her originate, see what she can do on stage in such a famous role. So it'll be exciting for her. I don't have her in my category.
You don't?
No.
Wow. All right.
We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. Okay, my next nominee here is, again, from Girl from the North Country. I have Kimber Sproul.
Me too.
She is another kind of standout from this show for me. when I think of seeing Girl from the North Country, I think of the character that Austin Scott plays, and I think of the character that Kimber Sproul is going to play. I don't really think of anything else. She has a beautiful song pretty early in Act 1 that she sings, and it's just a wonderful moment to show off her voice, her acting, and just to like command the stage by herself. And I think you kind of need a moment like that, especially in like a more serious musical, to get a nomination like this, a moment where you can point to and say, this is what I can do. So that's my third nominee in my category.
Yeah, I agree with this. I just think it's so interesting to have the conversation on the Girl from the North Country in general, because again, at this moment, this show might not actually reopen. Like, they do not have
And I think that changes everything if it doesn't reopen.
Totally. This is also a show that, again, like, we've done an episode talking about it. We've talked about it, obviously, in our Way Too Early 2020 nominations. I don't love this show. I know you don't love this show. It, to me, is, like, not very memorable. I wouldn't recommend it, but I will never forget the off-Broadway run and it being a critic's darling. Everyone was obsessed with it.
But I feel like it's just lost so much momentum in these past 2 years. And whereas 2 years ago, I was like, this is a lock for Best New Musical. Now,
totally. We were like Best New Musical, Best Director, like in 3 acting categories. We were like, this show is here. It is the one to beat. And now I'm like, I don't know if anyone cares.
I know. It's really lost momentum. So I'm very, very interested in what happens here.
This is so hard, the next two. So I have 3 here, which means I only have 2 left, and one of them I'm not sure where she goes. So I'm going to go on a whim here and just put her in featured because we do not know the rulings.
Right.
Shoshana Bean, welcome back to Broadway.
This is my next one as well. First time originating a role for Shoshana.
I'm so excited for her.
I know.
We're obsessed with Shoshana. Like, it's no secret. We both love Shoshana Bean. And as soon as this casting got announced, which, again, at time of recording was only, like, a week ago, I messaged you being like, Tony nominated. Like, there was no way that it's just so exciting. I mean, Shoshana is a crazy, crazy good singer. She is so talented. And I'm so excited to see her back on stage. And, again, as you said, like, originating a role. I know absolutely nothing about this musical.
But we know that Jason Robert Brown is writing the music with lyrics by Amanda Green. So, and we know that Jason Robert Brown and Shoshana work together a lot, and she sings a lot of his music. So I feel like this is a really good match here. I think she's going to bring the vocals to this show.
Oh, I mean, she brings the vocals to every show, but
right, but totally I don't think anyone else is bringing the vocals to this show, is what I'm saying.
You're right. Which is why it's confusing. Is she going to be considered potentially lead? Because, again, I've read that they are hoping to beef up this role because it's Shoshana. And they could be, like, writing specific things for her. I mean, I'm sure JRB is writing specifically for her. But, yeah, I'm excited for Shoshana to be back on stage. And I think as soon as that casting was announced, a lot of people were like, oh, my God, like, welcome back.
The reason I also lean to her being in featured as opposed to lead is because... And just based on reading about the movie, and how we haven't seen it, we don't know that much about it. Because it's told, like, in flashbacks, this story, she can only kind of be in one of them. I believe she plays, her character is Billy Crystal's daughter. Yeah. So already we're kind of cutting her stage time in half if it's being told in flashbacks, in future, and back. And she's just not, again, she's not Mr. Saturday Night. She's not.
No. Okay, give us your last person, and I'm pretty sure she's also the winner of this category, so...
This nomination has been years in the making. Years. This actress won an Olivier for this exact role. This is Miss Patti LuPone herself, descended from Italian peasants. Patti LuPone...
Patty's been waiting for this.
At playing Joanne in Company.
Yeah.
Love her. Queen.
I think it's so interesting that our, like, best featured actor and actress, both of our, like, shoo-ins are from Company.
Yes. I feel, I mean, this might be biased, but this is a show that I feel like the buzz did not die down in the 2 years of pandemic. The way that Girl from the North Country did, this one... The excitement has always been there.
And not that I think that, I mean, to me, and this is me, but Company is more of an exciting show than The Girl from the North Country. But also, For anyone that has been keeping up with both shows over the course of this pandemic, the company cast has been going hard on social media. They have not let us forget this. Whoever is running their Instagram and Twitter and doing their marketing, they have done such a great job. Even still, to this day, I can watch company's Instagram story from this morning and show you how much they are promoting that show. They're also like constantly putting out their rush ticket pricing. Like, they are going hard for this musical. And I mean, it has had its official opening, so the reviews are out. It's doing well. Like, critics are really into it. And it's just an interesting production in general. It's the gender bent of, like, a classic musical. So I just think that the cast and the marketing team has not let us forget that this is, like, in the running and will be here until next June at the Tony Awards. Yeah. Yes.
It's just, even, like, the marketing design is so vibrant. It's so bright. It makes you excited in a way that some other shows don't. So yeah, I think, and also I think, you know, this is kind of, you know, we recently lost Stephen Sondheim. We've been talking about this, and like, this is one of his, you know, biggest, most like loved shows, and it gets to be on Broadway this season, and this is kind of one of the last productions of his shows that has his influence in it.
He was working on this until the very end. Yes. Like, he was at that opening night. He was at the not the opening night. He was at the reopening night, the first preview. But I've seen many interviews with Matt Doyle where he was like giving him notes up until like being on stage. Like, he was so super involved. So I totally agree. I mean, I don't think this is the last we will see of company on our categories here. But for these two specific, no brainer, both of them. And Patty will win. Yeah, a queen.
I think it'll just be fun to honor her for this performance, for this. Yeah. I think everyone wants to see it.
Yeah. Before we move on, I do want to talk about the other women in this category because I think it's important. Just on the train of company, I don't know because, again, rulings haven't been put out, but Jen Simard has been talked about quite a bit for her performance in company. So she could be in the featured section. Again, I think it's a pretty strong list right now, so I don't know that she'll make her way in. Again, R.I.P. Diana, but there are two women there, Erin Davey and Judy Kay. So yes.
Give me Camilla Parker Bowles right now. Give me Camilla Parker Bowles.
I feel like on our 2020 list, like, we both had both of them. I think you had Judy Kay and I had Erin Davey nominated.
Yeah. So, this was when we were young and innocent.
But even then, we were like, wow, I can't believe we're doing this. Why are we doing this?
It was a thinner list then.
Totally. We also have Casey Levy for Caroline or Change.
Yes.
And again, I've listened to bits and pieces of that cast recording. She obviously, as always, sounds amazing on that. We also have Shalina Kennedy for Paradise Square. I believe that she would be considered featured for this.
I put her in lead, but what do I know? I don't know a thing. I don't know a thing.
I don't know. And then finally, this show has not been announced that it's transferring, but if it does, Bonnie Milligan is also in the running there for Kimberly Akimbo. So it's a really stacked bunch of women this Tony season, I feel.
Yes. I have more even, but it's not necessary. There's just... You know, I think it's a lot of talented people are going to be on Broadway this season. It feels very crowded. So it's so hard to pick out just like one or five, in this case, performances.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Best Actor in a Musical.
Okay, Best Actor in a Musical. I'm going to start with the star of MJ the Musical, MJ himself, Miles Frost.
Agree.
This is such an interesting musical because I absolutely, when it was announced that this was happening, my first instinct was, why? No. Why is this happening?
The first instinct was why, followed by no.
No, exactly. But then when we keep hearing reviews of it,
I know,
or just like people who go check it out, because the official reviews aren't out yet at time of record, people are like, this is actually really good. And I mean, of course, Michael Jackson's music is amazing, and how can you really go wrong by listening to that for a few hours? You really can't. But from what I've heard, this is a really exciting show, and at the center of it we have a newcomer, Miles Frost.
Broadway debut.
Like, it's very exciting for him here, and I think we're going to see him in this category. I think this is a role that if you can nail, is a guaranteed nomination.
I mean, super interesting. Ephraim Sykes was originally slated to play MJ, and we've obviously talked about him in the past for his performance in Ain't Too Proud, and I do think, regardless of who was playing MJ, I think it was always going to be a nominated role. I don't know. Again, I have Quentin Earl Darrington for supporting actor on here too, but other than like maybe a couple, I don't think they're going to clean up again like at the Tony Awards. But it's super exciting for, you know, Broadway debut to be playing MJ, first of all, because like obviously a legendary person. But yeah, it is an interesting show. We don't know too much about it, but reviews so far from general public have been pretty positive.
Something that really intrigues me about this is that it's directed and choreographed by Christopher Wheeldon, who
I know
we sat a row behind when we saw Jagged Little Pill on Broadway 2 years ago. But I've seen ballets by him. I think he's really great choreographer. I think this is really, you know, the last thing he did on Broadway was American in Paris. And this is completely different choreography style, completely different vision. So I am really interested to see what he does. So that's, you know, with the combination of that plus the book by Lynn Nottage, I'm like, oh, we have some like good people involved in this. So
I've also
maybe it's different than what I thought.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think I read that Janet is pretty involved in this too. Janet Jackson.
Like her actually, not the character of Janet, but like her.
No. Like
her
Janet Jackson. Yeah. So
well, we love Janet, so can't go
it's
wrong.
interesting to have like a family member be involved in a biopic. So yeah. All right. Yeah. Also on my list. Okay. I mean, there's like not that many people on this list, but I'm still having a hard time.
I know. Go for it.
I'm going to go with a classic Broadway fave, Rob McClure, who is playing Mrs. Doubtfire in Mrs. Doubtfire. But is it Mrs. Doubtfire or is it just Doubtfire now? Like, I'm still confused.
I unfortunately also have him on my list.
Not unfortunately. We love Rob McClure.
I do love Rob McClure, but why
is
this musical happening?
I know.
Half of these musicals on this list, my number one question is why?
Again, Rob McClure, I feel a Broadway staple. He's just always around, and whenever he's in a show, he is like doing a really amazing job.
Yeah.
This is someone that we had on our way too early Tony nominations for 2020. He was on that list. I do not think he's going to win, but I do think he will be there. And yeah,
this is in the Tootsie Mold, the Santino Fontana footsteps.
Right, and Santino won, so they're obviously not going to.
And that has aged quite poorly. Not that we don't love Santino, but that show and that nomination and that win has aged quite poorly.
And I don't think anyone here is going to make the same mistake, although they will make a different kind of mistake when we get to other people in this category. But yeah, I just don't see 2022 Tony nominations without Rob McClure on it. So
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Okay, my next person that I'm picking... Star of A Strange Loop. We believe it's going to be Jaquel Spivey because he is the person who did it in the most recent run. Is this run happening right now?
I think it just ended.
It did just end. On the cast recording we have, it's Larry Owens, but it doesn't look like he's continuing with the role. I'll do the caveat. Whoever is playing Usher in A Strange Loop is who is filling this spot.
Yes.
But I believe it's going to be Jaquel Spivey. He sings every single song in this show. He carries
the show. Doesn't leave the stage.
It's not autobiographical, but it's semi-autobiographical to Michael R. Jackson and the character of Usher. It's his thoughts and his mind, and this show does not succeed if this lead performance is not succeeding. So I think this actor is a shoo-in for this nomination, to me.
100%. Whoever is playing Usher will be nominated for this role. And I do think, although, again, as I've said, we've got some A-list celebrities in here, I do think this is the one potential character that could give these celebrities a run for their money. I am so interested to see how theater critics will react to this show. A lot of them have seen it because it has had many runs. But to have a musical that is essentially tearing down what white mainstream Broadway currently is, it is a full black cast. There is also obviously a black writer attached to this. I am so excited for the show to be on Broadway. And again, if it is going to bump out some of these A-listers for a win, it will be whoever's playing Usher.
I mean, ahead of its time, truly calling out Scott Rudin, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the Music Man. He's, you know, I know Scott Rudin's not attached to the Music Man anymore, but, like... He's the one who kind of, like, brought it to Broadway, even though someone else is doing it right now. Like, this revival of the Music Man would not be happening if Scott Rudin had not ushered it to Broadway. So he's... The actor who's playing Usher is probably going to be competing against the star of the Music Man in this category. I think it's funny. I think it's
amazing.
It brings comedy to the proceedings.
And also, we should say, I think we've said it on a previous episode, but A Strange Loop, the 2020 Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yes.
This musical is amazing. We both love it. The cast recording is everything. Go listen to it if you haven't listened to it.
Great cast recording. Lots of great things.
Okay, I mean, I'm just going to go for one of the two celebrities here. So, Hugh Jackman has entered the conversation.
Yes,
unfortunately. Again, as I've said with Rob McClure, I do not see a Best Actor category without Hugh Jackman in it. He is playing the Music Man. What is that character's name?
Harold Hill.
We have seen a curtain call of the show. We have seen some rehearsal footage. We have also seen Hugh Jackman, which was actually like a really nice moment. Shout out to the Swings.
Right. And that's the guarantee of the nomination right there. You know, it's like Hugh Jackman is a part of the theater industry, but he's kind of like left and had success outside. But when he comes back, he is so respectful to the art form.
I know, unfortunately.
It's so annoying. But when he went on stage and like really honored like all the swings and the understudies, and I was like, damn it, I can't believe you got me again. I can't believe you did this to me, Hugh Jackman.
While we're there for a second, we're not going to touch on this any further because it's irrelevant to the nominations, but like we talked about this on our year in review, and then since that, I feel like so many swings and understudies have been put to the test these last couple months. I am, like, in awe of performers, and I just think that it is, like, so exciting that someone like Hugh Jackman gets up on stage and recognizes all of these people, asks every single swing, understudy, ensemble member to come up and bow, like, amazing. So, yeah, his like, good and positive energy is a win, but everything else is a lose because, as we've said, The Music Man is a show that I don't think even needs to be on this season. It needs to be rewritten. It has needed to be rewritten for many years. And
does it have a new book, or am I making that up? I feel like no.
Does it? I don't think so. Maybe they've changed a couple things, but I've read that the problems that existed are still there.
Shapoopy is still there.
Just slowed down, apparently.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that clip. It doesn't excite me, this musical, but Hugh Jackman, I do think, is in this category. Okay, so now I have 4 nominees that are filling out my category, and I have 2 actors left.
I have 1 actor left. Because
you put Ramin in the other category, but I have either, to fill this final spot, Billy Crystal or Ramin Karimloo. So Billy Crystal from Mr. Saturday Night.
There is no competition on your list. It's free. It's Billy Crystal. Like, it has to be.
Or Ramin in Funny Girl. I know, this is so hard. If I were to cut someone else, who would I have to cut?
Like, from the list? I think, like, the cut would be for...
Rob McClure? Would it be Rob McClure?
It would be Rob McClure, but I'm pretty confident that Rob McClure is going to get a nomination here.
I know. Would it be Miles
What about
Frost?
MJ?
Yeah,
I know.
That's the other one. Okay, I think I'm going to make the hard decision. I'm going to cut somebody. I'm going to pick that Billy Crystal is going to be nominated and Ramin is going to be left on the cutting room floor, is what's going to happen here.
That's why I said, for his own, like, success here on a nomination, he's hoping that they put him in featured.
Featured is so hard because so much is up in the air with featured because you don't actually know, because it's just everyone who's not a lead is eligible for featured. So it could literally be anybody.
Yeah.
But
Billy Crystal is getting nominated. End of story. Like, it doesn't matter.
So
as soon as Mr. Saturday Night was announced a transfer, Billy Crystal was getting nominated. And probably so was the show.
It's so hard. But yeah, Billy Crystal's my final nominee here in this vanity project that he is bringing to Broadway. Congratulations.
Again, yeah, he's my last nominee too. We really have nothing to say on the show because we really know nothing about the show.
No.
But just to put, there are 2 people here that we have left off from the same show. Tony Asback and Harry Haddon Patton from Flying Over Sunset.
I left
and
them
we
off
had
as well.
both of them nominated in 2020.
It was a very different time. Someone else I've left off here, J.O. Sanders, who is from Girl from North Country.
Can't tell you
care
who he
about him.
played.
Don't
I
care
can't
about
even
him.
tell you who he played. Like
He's
I
the
was
owner
texting
of
you about
the.
this.
He's the owner of the inn.
That means nothing to me.
Okay,
I
wow.
literally don't remember the show.
He's the owner of the inn. Who has the wife who is sick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I remember now.
Who's sleeping with the other woman?
Yeah, but I don't think we had him on a list in 2020.
I definitely did have him on the list.
Like in nominated or in the long list?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Because sorry, in 2020, Girl from North Country was winning the Tony Award.
Was winning every award. Okay.
Okay. Who's the winner?
Okay. Wow. This is hard. For me, I'm gonna go out of left field, and I'm gonna pick Jaquel Spivey from A Strange Loop.
That's a good one. Again, as I just said, like literally 5 minutes ago, for all of those reasons, if there's going to be someone to bump out these celebs, it will be Usher. Whoever's playing Usher, I hope it's Jaquel because I've heard really good things from the tour, so we'll see. I hate to do this, and anyone that's listened to us for the last few years knows how much I hate to do this.
It pains you.
It's Hugh Jackman. I just don't see Tony Awards where he's not winning this role. The Tony voters are obsessed with him. Like, they just are.
I know. It's frustrating, isn't it?
It's so funny, though. We were talking about this, like, briefly last night as a family, and I was, like, had referenced, like, Billy Crystal and Hugh Jackman, and my brother Tyler was like, is this for, like, who's hosting the Tony Awards? I'm like, yes, this is what it seems.
Two famous hosts of award shows, Hugh and Billy Crystal. It is very interesting.
Yeah. Also, they've both previously hosted the Oscars, so it's just, like, a weird, I know. Okay. We've made it to the craziest category, which is Best Actress in a Musical.
This one feels the most, like, locked up to me.
This is such a hard category because everyone that's in here is so stupid talented, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Before we get into numbers, let's just say right off the bat, the most shocking ruling in the Tony Awards this season is 6.
All 6 of them in Best in Lead Actress. I don't even know what to do with that, honestly. There's nothing to do with it.
And I think they cancel each other out, unfortunately.
I agree. I have none of them being nominated.
Me either, but I love all of them individually,
It makes me really upset. I'm upset.
Yeah. Last time we did this, and 6 was in the question, you had Andrea Macassette as a nominee for Anne Boleyn. I love that we're just talking about 6 because none of them are on our list right now, but I think it's important because it's actually, like, upsetting. I do think 6 will show up, obviously, like, in later categories, and I do think that they will potentially win some awards. Unfortunately, the ladies of 6 are going to get shut out of this, and I'm sad about it.
The only way I can see one of them getting nominated is if the show and the publicity team picks one to campaign for, but they won't do that.
That'd be so devastating.
It would be hard because they can't campaign all 6. They just can't do that. Like, they don't have the resources, number 1. Number 2, you run the risk of canceling each other out, which is going to happen anyway if you do nothing. They'd have to pick a horse and run with that horse and kind of, like, make everything about getting one of them nominated. But I just don't see that happening, so I see them being completely left out.
Yeah. Okay, well, to move on from that depressing news, I'll give you someone who is a shoo-in for this category.
Yes, let's go.
Sharon D Clark, Caroline or Change.
Agreed.
She was there in 2020. She is there in 2021. She is there in 2022.
She won the Olivier for this role. So
she's amazing.
She's wonderful. What more is there to say? Sharon D Clark as Caroline in Caroline or Change.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next, let's go with Miss Katrina Lenk in Company.
Yeah. She's there for me, too. I actually think the top 4 are here, and the 5th spot is the hardest.
100% agree. 100% agree. The top 4 are in the revivals. Every single one is from revival.
Yeah, and all of them, superstars. Like,
yes.
It's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's do our third one.
Sutton Foster,
absolutely
the Music
agree.
Man.
Absolutely agree.
There is no question that Sutton is on this list. It's been a while since she has been here, and I mean, I feel like other than Hugh, like she's a name player now. She's a huge name, like, to get in there. I mean, look at the Music Man marketing. You can't even see the Music Man. It just says Sutton and Hugh. That's all it says.
It's so weird. It says Hugh Sutton. It's so weird. So the interesting thing about this is Barbara Cook, who played the role in the 1958 production on Broadway, was nominated in Featured Actress. However, I do think Sutton is going to be campaigned and named a lead.
Hugh Sutton is all you need to know.
Hugh Sutton. Like, it's like the profile picture for the Music Man, Hugh Sutton. I'm like, who is Hugh Sutton? Who is that person?
I know. And also, again, another, like, nice thing that Hugh Jackman does, but he is really giving Sutton that, like, pumping her up, giving all that energy. He's campaigning for her too. So
another kind of interesting thing is Rebecca Luker played Marion in the year 2000, and she was in lead. So could go either way.
I think when you think of the Music Man, there are two characters, and I think it's these two. Yes. Although, like, the Music Man is the Music Man, and we've made this argument about the funny girl, so I don't know.
And Mr. Saturday Night, and so many other things.
I mean, speaking of funny girl, obviously Beanie is going to be nominated for this role too. So.
Absolutely agree. I'm so excited for her. I'm so happy that she's doing this. This is really exciting.
We never talked about this because we haven't talked about Funny Girl publicly on the podcast, but we've definitely talked about this behind the scenes. The fact that Jane Lynch was cast and then Lea Michele was not was kind of like
shade.
The nail in the coffin.
Oh, it just makes me so happy. I'm really excited.
Okay, the fifth spot is super hard.
Yes, I agree.
Do we want to go through the long list and then place someone?
Okay. Sure.
I think we might have two different, but I'm not confident on that.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay, so the long list, obviously, all 6 women from 6 are there.
Yeah.
We've already canceled them out. The next person on my list of numbers is Carmen Cusack for Flying Over Sunset.
I have her as well here, yes.
The next person on my list, again, R.I.P. Diana, is Jenna Dewall.
In a just world, this would be her nomination.
And her win. The next person, potentially, again, I don't know rulings, but, like, Shoshana is there for me on this list, on the long list, because we don't know. The next person is Mayor Winningham, girl from the North Country. Mm-hmm. She was on our list in 2020.
Yeah.
And then I have, you had Shalina here.
I do. But she is not my nominee. But I do have her.
And then we also have, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce.
I believe it's Joaquina Kalukango. That's how I would pronounce it.
That sounds correct. That sounds correct for Paradise Square. She is the person that any, like, press, promo, any recordings you've seen, it's her. She is front and center. So, again, I don't know, like, anything about this show other than it's Garth Drabinsky. But other than that, she is, like, front and center for this poster child of Paradise Square. And then... Oh, sorry.
I would say she is my nominee. She is who I would pick. She was nominated in the most recent Tony Awards for Slave Play as lead actress.
Wow.
In a play. So, that's the direction I'm going with. This is my 5th nominee filling out the slot, Paradise Square.
Interesting. Okay. I am not going to put her there because you did, so that's really my only reason.
Pick someone else.
To pick someone else. But before I give that pick, the other potential, again, this show has not announced a transfer yet, would be Vicky Clark for Kimberly Akimbo. If that transferred, I do think Vicky Clark would be in there.
Yes, I agree, but I don't think it's going to make it this season.
So for that ruling that we've just made up right now, I am putting who we had in 2020, and that's Mayor Winningham for the girl from the North Country.
Wow, Mayor Winningham. Not Carmen Cusack?
I love Carmen Cusack, and I think that she,
if the
from
show
what
had
I've
run
read,
longer,
is the star of Flying Over Sunset. I also think the Tony voters might love Carmen Cusack. However, if we are talking about a standout performance from the girl from the North Country, it is Mayor Winningham. And
yes,
that's really
it
all
is the most
to it.
Showy performance as well. Like,
I also think it was like
do.
when it was playing off Broadway, it was like the Critics' Pick performance. So it is a role that people are familiar with. Again, not sure the like trajectory of this show. I think it all changes if it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
I do think Paradise Square is a really good pick for the fifth person because there are 4 locks here. Like whether you like it or not, there are 4
leads
locks.
In the revivals, and then it's kind of a fight for that 5th spot from the new musicals.
Okay, so who's your winner? I think mine is the same as last year. I think I'm giving this again to Sharon D Clark because what a performance.
You know, like, my heart wants to say Katrina Lenk, but I feel like we've given too much company love already.
There's no way Katrina's winning this. I'm sorry, I love Katrina Lenk, but from all of the reviews, she's the weakest link in this show.
I know. Okay, to be contrarian, I'm gonna say Beanie Feldstein. Let's say Beanie. let's just in my heart, Beanie. Let's do it. 1993 Babies. Let's go.
I think she's a good like secondary here, but I really think this is Sharon D Clark's to lose.
I think what the disadvantage that Sharon D Clark has is that Carolina Change is closed.
But no, like people have not stopped talking about, and
I know
the one saving grace is that they came out with a new cast recording. They were so smart to do that.
You're absolutely right. But sometimes it's really like if you haven't seen it within the past 2 weeks, sometimes that really affects the voting. So
I guess, but I don't know. I have a feeling
when
like
Stephanie J. Block was robbed for falsettos because it closed in January.
Well, that's why Carmen Cusack is not making it on this list. Right.
So because it's too old.
And when we talked about this in 2020, like, we didn't know the end date of... I mean, it was a different world back then, so it's not even relevant to speak on.
We can't even talk about this.
I just think that Sharon D. Clark is one of those names that, you know, you see it on a list and you're like, oh, wow, remember that performance of Carolina Change? That's the one.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It is interesting, though, for these shows that have closed, and again, we don't know what's going to happen in the next month between this recording and release, if anything else is announced, but it is interesting for people to go back and be like, oh yeah, that performance, that was great. I saw that X number of months ago, and here we are in June at a Tony Awards, and it's been closed for like 6 months already. Like, it is kind of crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so... those are our top 5 categories. Those are our top 4 categories with 5 people in each category. These next few that we are going to discuss, I don't think we're putting them into like a top situation. We're just going to talk about it. So, to talk about direction, someone that we talked about a lot in 2020, and I think she is going to be right up there in the main conversation again, is Marianne Elliott for Company.
100%. Because it was her like vision to flip Bobby, you know. I think so much of it can be credited to her. And she's directed so many great things on Broadway before, so I think she's a favorite for that category. Warhorse, Angels in America, the recent Angels in America, really great things. So, I mean, someone else to highlight here, James Lapine directed Flying Over Sunset. So, I don't know, that's a pretty heavy hitter in this category, potentially. Yeah. But another one that's closed. Yeah.
Lucy Moss, 6.
And Lucy Moss and Jamie Armitage, who co-directed 6 together. I have hope for them, too. I could be excited for them. Yeah. We talked about Christopher Wheeldon, who directed MJ. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about Stephen Brackett, who directed A Strange Loop?
Yes, I think this is so interesting.
Is an exciting one.
Stephen Brackett, known for Be More Chill and The Lightning Thief. And when you think of those 2 shows and you think of A Strange Loop, they are nowhere in the same universe. So it is so interesting to have someone like him direct this show. I think it's a pretty almost like positive nomination for him, but I just think as a person, it's so interesting to attach him to this. Although I did see on the Broadway World website, it said Stephen Brackett replacement. So I don't know who originally was attached, but he did do the Larry Owens run.
He's been
that everyone had, like, that's the one that most people have seen. Yeah. So he's been attached since 2019 at least, but I'm not sure who was like originally attached.
Right. Yeah, I don't know either. Anyone else here?
Yes.
I can point to Michael Mayer, who's doing Funny Girl, who did it on the West End, and that's kind of like that same production transferring. Always love him. And then Connor McPherson for Girl from the North Country. Uh,
I think we had him as winner last time.
we did, but I don't know. I think Marianne Elliott, this is her category.
Me too. The last person I want to just touch on is Jerry Zaks, who is directing Doubtfire and Music Man. So
right.
Interesting to have. He's also a heavy hitter, obviously, on Broadway.
Yes,
so
but I see no
I don't think
nomination
he'll win.
for him. I don't even
Really?
see a nomination. No. I think there are much more exciting people on this list.
Yeah. Okay, score. It's so funny to talk about score because last year there was no original score.
It was all from plays. It was all from plays.
Because it was the jukebox musical.
Yes.
Off last year.
I don't know what plays this year have original music.
Sorry, we haven't even talked about The Little Prince.
Right. Well, we'll talk about it here. We'll talk about it in this category.
Welcome, The Little Prince, to this conversation. This was announced like a month ago, I want to say.
A while ago,
and it looks like a Cirque du Soleil show, in my opinion.
Yes. It's
coming
played
from Australia.
in like Paris, and it's currently, I believe, in Sydney. So there is footage available from it, and it's a lot of acrobatics, dance, gymnastics.
It looks beautiful.
It does look really beautiful. It's going to be at the Broadway Theater, so a really big house. So I'm interested. Music, but it has all original music. So
by Terry Truck, which I'm not familiar with anything he's done, but it is original music. So yeah, we don't know anything else about plays per se, but that's the only one that was like kind of on the list of could be nominated for score because it is brand new.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just cycle these off. Obviously, A Strange Loop is getting nominated.
100%. I believe A Strange Loop will be nominated.
Michael R. Jackson obviously wrote the music, lyrics, and book for A Strange Loop, so
that Pulitzer Prize winning book.
Yeah, you know? Obviously. Another obviously Six is going to be nominated for score.
Absolutely agree.
Toby Marlowe, Lucy Moss. I mean, go listen to our like 6 episode. I think it was our Off to Chicago episode. Also like our 2020 year in review.
Yeah.
Was it 2020? Was it 2019? Must have been 2019 year in review.
It was 2019.
Wow. It's 2022. How did we get here?
We're so old. Oh my god.
Yeah, but
we were young.
Like obsessed with that cast recording. It is incredible and so interesting because on the list of like all of these shows probably has the least amount of songs.
Yeah, 9 songs.
So then we have A Flying Over Sunset, Tom Kitt and Michael Corey. I just feel like anytime Tom Kitt's name is attached to something, there's a potential that he could sneak in here and get a nomination and knock someone else out.
Are you putting that in your category or no?
I haven't. We're just listing them right now.
We're just listing them?
But, sorry. A Strange Loop and Six are, like, the top 2, and then everything else is, like...
Yes, so those 2 are definitely getting nominated, and let's discuss the rest here.
Yeah, okay, so Flying Over Sunset is just, like, the next on the list. Next after that is Doubtfire, which is Wayne and Carrie Kirkpatrick. Only other score I know from them is Something Rotten, and I love that cast recording.
Another musical comedy.
Yeah.
Score.
I mean, again, a show that In Our Hearts is nominated, but definitely is not. Diana.
No.
David Bryan and Joe DiPietro. I'll say it on every episode. This cast recording is amazing. So, Paradise Square is Nathan Tyson and Jason Howland. I know that Jason Howland worked on Little Women, and I love that cast recording. And Nathan Tyson did Tuck Everlasting. And then this, like, sneak attack from JRB and Amanda Green for Mr. Saturday Night. Like, JRB doesn't need to do this, and the fact that he's there makes this category exciting
It's very interesting because he's not doing the lyrics, and he normally does the lyrics as well. So he's collaborating this time. Yeah. Okay, so we've got Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss nominated for 6, and we've got Michael R. Jackson nominated for A Strange Loop. We each got to pick 3 more. Okay.
I'm putting Mr. Saturday Night in there because it's JRB. That's my only reasoning. No other reason than that. Also, can't wait for the Shoshana Numbers. I'll be listening to that cast recording.
I don't disagree. I think that's on my list as well. My next one is Tom Kitt and Michael Corey for Flying Over Sunset.
I agree.
I think this might be potentially maybe like a lone nomination for Flying Over Sunset, you know? Like
they could get nominated for set.
Sure.
And choreography.
I don't know about
that.
Choreography
award. Is there a choreography award?
There is a choreography award, but I don't know about that. I do not know about that.
Apparently there's like an amazing tap dance number. Tony Asbeck.
Yeah, you know, Tony Asbeck we love. But if we're talking about tap dancing, Paradise Square apparently has a lot of tap dancing.
I know, I heard this. I, unfortunately, am going to put Doubtfire as my last spot in this category.
Oh, God, that pains me. I'm going to put A Little Prince as my last slot.
It's a good, like, off-the-beat guess.
Yeah. People like to feel smart, so I think they're going to put that.
Winner for this is so difficult because I love the top two, but I really think this is a Strange Loops to lose.
I agree, a Strange Loop for the winner here.
Don't get me wrong. If So Strange Loop was not in this season, this was Six's award.
Yes.
It really was. Like, everyone was talking about before Strange Loop announced that they were transferring, that Six was winning best score. And now, I'm sorry, Six, it's a Strange Loop.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just doing kind of the most interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's challenging everything. It challenges everything. Okay, that was an easy one. So we're gonna finish this off here with our best new musicals. So just to run through them again, we have Six, Flying Over Sunset, MJ, Diana, Mr. Saturday Night, Paradise Square, Doubtfire, The Girl from the North Country, and A Strange Loop. Okay, I'll start. I think Six will be there. I really think that Six will be nominated for Best New Musical.
Absolutely agree. And then I also think A Strange Loop.
Obviously.
Like, I think always, like, those are guarantees, and then everywhere else is kind of where it gets muddy. For me, the next nominee is Girl from the North Country.
I agree.
And this is where it gets messy for me. This is where I lose it.
Okay, I think we can cross Diana off the list.
Yeah, not Diana. Not Diana. I'm also going to cross Doubtfire off.
I don't know.
You don't have to, but I'm going to cross Doubtfire off.
I'm going to cross MJ off.
Okay. This is so hard because these all seem horrible. Like, I'm like literally not excited by most of these shows. Okay, the next one I'm going to go for, I'm going to say Mr. Saturday Night is my fourth nominee in this.
I agree with this as well. You know, the Vanity Billy Crystal Project is going to get nominated for Best New Musical.
And now, oh God, I'm between Flying Over Sunset, MJ, and Paradise Square. I am going to cross Paradise Square off.
Yeah, sorry, Garth, but not happening.
Not happening. Is it going to be Flying Over Sunset?
I just think, okay, so Flying Over Sunset is the fifth spot in my list. I only say this because it's James Lapine.
I know.
Only reason. That's the only reason I'm saying this. And I've also read mixed negative reviews on this.
Yes.
But I feel like any critic that has seen this is like, this is different. This is trying something. And it's Carmen Cusack, Tony Yazbek, and Harry Haddon Patton, and James Lapine, and Tom Kitt. Like, it just feels right.
Okay, so do we end up with the same list of Girl from the North Country?
I think we did.
Six, Flying Over Sunset, Mr. Saturday Night, A Strange Loop? Is that our list? I'm sorry to MJ, but I don't see a world where MJ is nominated for Best New Musical. I just really don't. No. But normally this would be such bait for them.
Yeah, but like, how many times has a biopic shown up there?
Tina. Beautiful.
But Tina
Jersey
showed up,
Boys.
like, because it had to.
Well, Adrienne Warren was also, like, a star.
Right, but think back to 2020. Was Tina on the list for Best New Musical back then? I'm not sure it was.
I mean, we were very not excited about it, but I do feel like
everyone else was.
I feel like people were.
Like, Cher Show, not nominated.
I know, that was a disgrace. Yeah, I feel
also
like
at the Neil Simon.
But I think MJ is gonna get better reviews than the Cher Show got. MJ is my sixth. If I would swap out Mr. Saturday Night for MJ, maybe.
See, I would swap one of those out for Doubtfire.
No,
I hate myself for that answer, but I think it could be.
Don't degrade yourself in this way.
Who wrote the book? I don't even know.
Who did write the book?
Oh, actually, I think it's important to mention this. I sent you a message last night because I read on, again, most reliable source, Wikipedia, that originally in 2015, Doubtfire was supposed to be book written by Harvey Fierstein and music by Alan Menken. And I think that we deserve that show.
I think that would be great. But I also don't think we needed any Doubtfire musical.
We definitely didn't, but 2015 was like kind of a different time, you know?
It was different.
We were young and naive then.
we would have been excited then. Okay, so that's our nominees for Best Original Musical. Revival.
Yeah, Revival. Oh, wait, sorry. Are we picking a winner? Or are we going to go through Revival first and then pick both winners?
No. Let's pick this winner.
Okay.
Let's pick this winner.
I am going with A Strange Loop.
Same. Absolutely same.
For all reasons mentioned for the last hour on this episode.
I think A Strange Loop is going to be the favorite this year.
Which is so funny because, again, without this announcement came, I feel, out of left field. No one thought that this was coming this season.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been much more of a toss-up if A Strange Loop was not in here.
Yeah.
And I probably would have said Girl from the North Country.
Still, really. Oh, God.
I don't think six is enough of a critic's pick to get it Best New Musical.
I agree. I think if Strange Loop wasn't here, they probably would have honored 6 in original score.
Yes, agree.
And something
Girl from
else would
North
have won
Country.
Best Musical.
Yeah. It would have been Mr. Saturday Night.
It's so funny. So I typed out my list. My first page has no winners on it. All my winners come from my second page.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that funny?
Okay, Revival. We have 4 heavy hitters of revivals here. We've got Company, Carolina Change, Funny Girl, and The Music Man.
Right. So I think we've decided they're all going to be nominated. I think the interesting question is, if you think only 3 are going to get nominated, which one would the nominators leave off?
Carolina Change, unfortunately for Carolina Change. No, I don't know.
For me, The Music Man.
You think?
That would be my... I think they're all 4 going to get nominated, but if we were to leave one off, I think it's The Music Man.
I take that back. This is so hard. I don't think they could leave it off. I don't think they could leave it.
If you have to leave one off, which one are you leaving off, Tara?
No, sorry, I'm going to keep my answer of Carolina Change, even though I personally wouldn't take it off, but if someone was going to take it off, I think it was... I just think... I know Scott Rudin is no longer attached to The Music Man, but Scott Rudin is still attached to some of those Tony voters, and I just think there is other things going on that they would have to keep it on there.
So interesting. Okay, so who's your winner then?
This is so hard.
I know. I'll say my winner. I think my winner is Company.
I was about to say. I
think the hype is still there for them. We need to see what the reviews are like for Funny Girl, because maybe that'll blow us out of the park, because we really don't know anything.
If there is a second place, I agree. It is also Funny Girl, but I think we gave it to Company in 2020 as well. I just think it is such an innovative production. Mm-hmm. Something like this has not been done before, similar to kind of the same vein of A Strange Loop. Something like that hasn't really been done before. Yeah. So, and we're both obsessed with the set design of this show. Yes. So I just think it has everything going for it, as well as all of the acting nominations. But yeah, Funny Girl could be outrageously good and shock everybody here. I mean, I don't think it would be a shock because again, these are 4 really heavy productions.
We haven't heard reviews on it. We don't know what they sound like singing these songs yet. We just really barely know what this production looks like.
If The Music Man wins this,
oh my god, cries, horrible. And let's also pay our respects to the fallen soldier of the revival category, West Side Story.
West Side Story. Because
never eligible.
The ruling did come out, and West Side Story was not eligible. West Side Story closed.
March
11th. They opened the day after the 2020 rulings, right?
So they decided. So what they did was
they rudely decided the day
12th,
before,
and West Side Story was running, and they decided I believe they opened on February 19th, and the ruling, or February 20th, and the ruling they decided everything before the day before West Side Story's opening was eligible, and everything after wasn't, because not enough voters had seen the show, and because
that was a direct hit at West Side Story.
It was a direct hit at West Side Story, but also Girl from the North Country had opened then. And but was able to reopen. So because they said not enough voters had seen those shows yet, they weren't eligible for those Tonys. And because West Side Story never reopened, it wouldn't be eligible for this Tonys either.
Because if it was, totally different conversation. As you all know, Isaac Powell would have been winning Best Actor.
I mean, I think the Scott Rudin of it all, at that time, we were really interested, we were kind of excited, but over the course of the pandemic, I think a lot of people, even people who liked it, kind of soured on that version of West Side Story. It did not hold up over the pandemic the way Girl from the Country did not hold up as well.
Not even just the Scott Rudin of it all, but we've got some actors in there that should have never been in that show. So there was a lot of issues surrounding around it. I think if it reopened, it would have very quickly reclosed.
Yes.
because of bad press and everything else going on. But yeah, like Ivo Van Hove was definitely in the conversation.
Direction,
in
the
2020.
choreography.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Isaac, I think we had also, like, I don't think she had made it into the short list, but like Shireen Pimentel was in the long list.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. It was a different time.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, we did it. These are our way too early 2022 Tony nominations. We won't have any actual information until about end of May, I want to say.
Well, yeah, the nominations will be like end of May, but rulings will come out around then as well.
Yeah, which, I mean, we'll talk about this again because it's so exciting to have an actual, like, full season this year.
Yeah.
Did you want to highlight any, like, choreo, set design before we head to Obsessions?
Let me see what I've written down here.
I
think, so book-wise, there's a few. MJ the Musical has a Lynn Nottage book, which is really good.
Yeah.
But the book, and Funny Girl has a new Harvey Fierstein book, but the book that is, I think, gonna win Best Book is again A Strange Loop because Michael R. Jackson wrote it, Pulitzer Prize winning book, like, of course. Choreography wise, I think that's where maybe The Music Man is gonna get the honor for Warren Carlyle because he's great. But then, you've got Christopher Wheeldon doing that MJ choreography, and Michael Jackson has such specific choreography, so if you're not nailing that, and what I've heard is it's really great. Eleanor Scott is doing the choreography for Mr. Saturday Night, and I don't know what kind of choreography it's going to be, but I love Eleanor Scott, so I'm really excited for that.
What about, like, The Little Prince?
Oh, I wonder. I don't know if I have who did the choreography for that.
I don't know either, but it's seems to be such, like aerial acrobatic kind of show, so it could be interesting to see that.
And one more person who I want to highlight for choreography, Bill T. Jones is doing the choreography for Paradise Square, and there's a lot of dancing in that, and it ends up kind of being about, like, how, not totally about, but talks about how tap dancing was originated by the Black community, combining with, like, Irish step dancing and different types of dancing, and so I think that is going to have, like, really, really great choreography. So I'm excited to see what he does with that. So there's a lot of choreography coming in this season. So we shall see. Just
for set design, obviously Company is, I feel, the one to beat this year. As we've said, those, like, super bright and amazing, like, balloons, like, is really,
even, like, the boxes that they're kind of, like, moving in and out and moving around, it looks so cool.
But other than that, I think it's interesting that Derek McLean is doing the sets for MJ. Again, haven't really seen anything like on stage to know what they look like, but he's someone that's always around. Did he not win for Moulin Rouge, like, last year?
Yeah.
So, interesting that he's there. And then the other one that I want to just point out, I don't know how to properly pronounce his name. I think it's Beowulf Borit, who did the set design for Flying Over Sunset. I only reference this because the musical is about LSD and hallucinogenics, and I've read some interesting things on the Broadway World boards about what they did set-wise.
Oh, wow.
And also the Vivian Beaumont is an interesting place
it's a great
to work with a set. So those are the only ones I'm, like, super...
Who did the sets for Diana? Tell us who did the sets for that rose curtain.
We need to look it up. We need to give them a
the credit. The credit.
Diana musical set design. Honestly, the gates, like the Buckingham Palace gates. Oh, it's David Zinn.
Oh, we love David Zinn.
And speaking of David Zinn, I'm reading right now on his IMDb, he's doing Funny Girl.
David Zinn.
So, David Zinn did The Minutes. He's done Choir Boy, Boys in the Band, SpongeBob.
Yes.
So could be interesting to see what he does with the Funny Girl set. But yeah, I think that is our way too early 2022 Tony nominations. A lot of things to be excited about, but also a lot of things that I don't really care about.
It's a weird season. This is not an inspiring season to me.
No, and I think that there are certain awards here that if they go a certain way, we could be hate watching that Tony Awards in June. So, who knows? But, you know, always exciting to deep dive and go through these nominations in January because we really have no information here. So if there is anyone that we have left off of our list, if there's anyone who you think is like a shoo-in to win, we would love to hear about it. And with that being said, it is now time for our Obsession of the Week.
So my obsession is one I have been waiting so long to use because I've been obsessed for 2 years, and yet we've only been able to talk about this show now because Broadway is finally back open. And I may shock you, but Mrs. Doubtfire the musical has an iconic song in it, and it only has one iconic song in it.
Well, we don't know that for sure because we haven't heard the cast recording.
But 2 years ago at Broadway Con, they performed the song What the Hell. The 3 kids, their names are Annalise Scarpacci, Jake Ryan Flynn, and Avery Sell. And they, all 3 of them returned to the show when it reopened on Broadway. And this song is so good.
It's so good.
Nothing else I've heard from Doubtfire has inspired me in the way that this song did. Annalise Scarpacci's voice, amazing.
She's ridiculous.
I love her. And the other 2 kids, those are, like, Annalise Scarpacci is, like, an adult, but those other 2 are kids. They're actual kids singing this song and doing this show. And I think it really just, like, one, it captures the idea of these teenagers, these children, like, being upset at their mom bringing in someone new, trying to replace their dog.
This was not supposed to happen.
And it's just so good. It gets that, like, righteous anger of a child, just, like, nails it. But it also is a bop. Unfortunately, there is no cast recording for Doubtfire yet, and it hasn't been announced yet either, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But the video of them performing it at Broadway Con is available, and that's what I would recommend. They sound amazing.
It's so interesting that this song from a show that, like, not that many people have seen, everyone universally is obsessed with it. Yeah. That's how good it is.
I have a viral TikTok comment about it.
Yeah, you do. You do. I agree. We love this song. I believe we've talked about it in the past.
Absolutely. But I don't think it's been an official obsession.
No, I looked last night to confirm because I thought that it was an obsession because of how much we talk about this. And then you reminded me that we talk about this in our daily life also. Yeah. So it's not just like a podcast thing.
This is personal.
Yeah. My obsession this week is from a YouTube group that I have seen, like, periodically over the years, but it wasn't until this most recent video that they put out that I was like, oh my god. I am talking about the group Voice Play. Now, if anyone is familiar with Voice Play, it is like a group of people and they perform these different songs all just with their voices. It's really amazing stuff what some people can do. Anyway, the one that I am obsessed with is Voice Play recently put out a Wicked a cappella medley. And oh my god, it is like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It's featuring Rachel Potter, which, Steph, did you ever watch X Factor US?
I know who Rachel Potter is.
She was on like Team Kelly, I want to say. Roland?
I was like, Team Kelly Clarkson. She was on
No, that's the voice.
I definitely did watch X Factor US, which Alex and Sierra won once, and Melanie something won another season, but now I can't remember who won the other season. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I feel like most notably from X Factor US was Fifth Harmony.
Right, but they didn't win.
No, they were just like the biggest name to come out of it. But anyway, Rachel Potter, already a crazy voice. I remember watching her on X Factor, had like crazy voice. This section that is, like, unbelievable is Defying Gravity, and I have never heard someone option up the way that she options up, but also shout out to the guy that's beatboxing, because I don't even understand what he's doing with his voice, and then the other guy that I'm obsessed with is the one that, like, does the baritone. It's all crazy. Everyone should go watch Voice Play. They are so, like, stupid talented with what they can do with their voice. But anyway, I am obsessed with this entire performance, but specifically the Defying Gravity section of this performance, if you YouTube it, you'll see there are like 1 million people that have reacted to it because it's one of those things that it like went super viral. Everyone reacted. Everyone freaked out over it. And rightfully so. They're amazing. So that is my obsession this week. That is our episode on our way to early 2022 Tony nominations. We will regroup when the nominations come out for real.
Compare. Guys, just tell us if you think we're absolutely wrong. Like, I want the feedback, okay?
Yeah. We want to know how, like, how off we are. Like, are you a fan of The Music Man? Are you a fan of Mr. Saturday Night? Are we the only haters in this
Should we start like a movie club where we watch all the movies that these musicals are based on this year? Just
The Music Man.
We'll have like a big senior party, invite whoever wants to join, and we'll watch Mr. Saturday Night. I don't even know where it's available.
That doesn't sound fun to me.
It doesn't sound fun. This movie sounds not fun. But yeah. Yeah, tell us what you think. Tell us if you think we're absolutely wrong. If you agree who we're missing, let us know.
Exactly. So we will regroup in May to discuss these nominations. And then, of course, when the Tonys happen in June, we will be live tweeting, I'm sure. This year, hopefully, everything like goes okay and we can actually like have a nice Tony party because it feels like we haven't been able to like properly celebrate a Tony Awards in 2 years.
I know.
So yeah, we will regroup in a few months, but in that time, you can listen to any of our other podcast episodes by subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'd really appreciate it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts.
And you can stay updated on any new episodes coming out by following us on Twitter and Instagram at Off2BOA Podcast with the number 2. And that's where you can let us know how right or wrong you think we are.
Or you can also let us know on YouTube where you can subscribe. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.